Welcome once again to our show, Yesterday's Memories. I want to thank you for joining us today, and today we have just a special treat. If you've ever went down Highway 165, this is 165, and I've been by there many, many times, and I'd see the sign at Holy Trinity. You see the school on the left. Well, you see the sign on the right. You can't see the facility, but it says Holy Trinity Retreat. And I've often wondered what's down there. So we're here today, and it's just our pleasure to be here. And this is a beautiful place. I mean, you can just feel God all over this place and the people that serve here. And today we have Sister Pat going to start our show off, and she's going to tell us about what they do and so forth. Sister Pat, want to welcome you to Yesterday's Memories today.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having us. And just tell us now, I tell you, and I've already told Sister Pat, I'm kind of ignorant on this. I don't know anything about the facility. This is my first time from ever being inside. So it's just a beautiful facility. So Sister Pat, tell us exactly what y'all do here.
Okay, well, thank you for coming, and thank you for your presence, and I hope my memories are working for you too.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Catholic retreat facility, just because it's under our auspices here. But we have, from the beginning of our community and the origins of our community down here, been ecumenical. That was one of our calls from Father Judge. He felt when he was sent down south after being in the Northeast, there was a lot of prejudice, and he just couldn't seem to, the previous pastor couldn't get anything done, kind of thing. Very small Catholic population. And he had been working with lay people up in the Northeast in little groups, making little apostles of them. That's what he called them. And so he invited them to come down as volunteers. And he said, just come down, be a Catholic presence. What are the needs? How can we meet them? And this was how he entered into the community. As you mentioned, he started St. Patrick's School, and my memories of it were that it was first originated to serve the lunch pail toters, kids that couldn't go to public schools because of the hours, so they made special hours to meet their needs. And as you said earlier, it was an excellent school and had waiting lists and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Because these were professional teachers from the north that had come down. And it was about the same time as the Spanish influenza, and they would go into people's homes where most of the health department, would not do that. So I think this helped to break down the prejudice. And as more volunteers were coming, they needed a place to stay and to live, and so this property was given to Father Judge. It was a working farm. His chapel, which we'll see later, had been a sharecropper's cabin, and that was turned into our first chapel. And that's the shrine of Blessed Trinity Shrine Retreat. Not this building, but that humble building from whence we grew. And that's what he wanted to preserve, that, just to remind us, of our humble beginning. So the sisters came down. Well, they weren't sisters at that time. They were still lay people, volunteers, men and women. And he was still working with the groups up north, so he would invite them to come down for retreats and everything. So we had retreats here since 1917. Of course, the facility was not like this one.
Right.
They still had barns and chicken coops and things like that, but we're gradually building other resources. The present retreat house was was completed in 1965, and it was designed as a retreat house, which I think makes it special. A lot of places, the retreat houses are converted old schools or something like that, camps. So we have been hosting and sponsoring retreats in this facility since 1965. And it said that was the time of the Vatican Council II. and with the emphasis on more ecumenism. So we have been open and welcoming of groups of all faiths to come and just, we say it's holy ground. And I say, for many reasons it's holy ground. If you caught that historic marker out on the highway, in 1689, the Spanish came up from Apalachicola and had a mission, a Spanish fort here. It's like right adjacent to our property. So we feel that the missionaries were up here that early. And of course it's sacred ground for the Indians here. We have to get permission before we do anything as far as digging stuff up. And, and then the thousands of people that have come and prayed and just been in the presence of God over the many years. I think that is present in the spirit here too. And one of our mottos is peace in the pines. And a recent retreatant on the evaluation said, peace in the pines. Now that's really truth in advertising, so people do feel peace here in God's presence. And so I've been here for 18 years now, and I love it.
Great.
And hopefully, as more people come, they can participate in that too. We are open. As I said, we host some groups, and that's if there's a group contact person calls and says, can we come out and use the facilities? We got 20 in our group. So we, check the calendar first of all, and then do all the details and welcome their group to come down for the weekend or midweek. We'd like some people to come midweek. We have,
Right.
Usually it's more open during the middle of the week. So those are hosted, and we've had a variety of different groups of Methodist, Lutheran, across the board. We also sponsor programs where we put on the program. We advertise it in the diocese and wherever we can on our website. And Elizabeth can tell you all the technical stuff because I don't do that. I've been out too far, disconnected for 18 years, so I don't do that. But she's got Facebook and Twitter and all of those things.
Right.
Like this weekend, we have a Bible Institute, and we have a scripture scholar here coming to talk about St. Paul and his letters. I think he calls it the apostle you love to hate, But, and we have a pretty full house for that. We had a family retreat that we sponsored and tried to make it really low income, so families that usually can't afford to get away were able to come. And there was just a lot of good time with the families. We let the kids meet together and do their things, and the adults, and just a chance to slow down as a family and appreciate being as a family and talk about being family. So the blessings come in many ways here.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. Now, when somebody, let's just say they call and let's just say they'll book it. Mm-hmm. For a better choice of words, is they surely there's a price for that?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it got to be.
Yes. Most retreat houses are not self-sufficient.
Right.
Because it's mostly weekend, but we have to keep the facility open and going during the week. And we do have private retreatants as well that can come on an individual basis if they just want some time away. Our community helps to subsidize the retreat house. Right now, it's like $165 for a weekend if a group is coming, and that's the 2 nights, 5 meals, 3 meals on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. And if it's a big enough group, we usually have good fried chicken on Sunday for the main meal before they go home. So our main meal's in the middle of the day. So that's $165 per person with the group. And that includes the use of all the facilities and our lovely 1,200 acres so they can go down to the river. We have a nice little grotto. It was the first building that the young men built when we got the property. There's many vistas and trails that they can use.
Yeah. Well, I just can't figure out if this is the best kept secret or the worst kept secret.
We're not trying to keep it a secret.
don't many people, I didn't know what it was all about. I mean, honestly, I really didn't. And I just really wanted to find out. And there again, you have just such a beautiful facility, and you can just feel peace. And you know, people just really need to slow down. You know, we live in a fast pace, and we use cell phones and everything else. Everything's just so hectic. And of course, I'm retired, but I do more now than I did when I worked. Honestly, and I don't know. Next thing you know, the time's gone, and so forth. And
you need to take time and just step back and reflect. And where's my life going? What do I want my life to mean beyond just the workaday stuff?
Absolutely. Well, you know, I just, and I know I keep repeating myself, but I guess I'm still in shock how beautiful your facility is here. And I've just really been in the front. I mean, you know, and all the greenery, and it's just so neat and clean and peaceful. It's just so peaceful here. And all y'all offer with 1,200 acres, and you was talking about what all y'all can do here.
In the facility, we have 40 individual rooms with a bathroom between each 2 rooms. We have a large meeting space. We have a beautiful chapel. I'm sure you want to take some photos in there.
Okay.
And you can just feel God's presence here. You know, that's what people say the minute they drive onto the property.
Well, I did, honestly. I really did. Yeah. And I'm not just saying that. It's just so peaceful, you know.
I'm glad you came down.
Well, we're glad y'all opened your doors to us, and we're glad to be here. And we're gonna treat you so many different ways. You gotta like some of them before we're through.
Okay.
Thank you, Sister Pat.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hey folks, I'm Bear O'Brien, and over the last 40 years I've been able to share my mornings with you on radio, and I've also been able to share my inspirational message every morning. It's a chance for me to share my faith with you. Now we're bringing it to TV thanks to CTV Beam. You can catch us every Monday through Friday morning at 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., the inspiration of the morning. I'm so glad to share it with you. So please be watching every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. I love you. God bless you.
Welcome back to yesterday's memories, and man, we have a treat today. We're at a Holy Trinity Retreat with Father Dave. Father Dave, God bless you. So good to meet you. Thank you for welcoming us and being such a gracious host. Father Dave is pastor of St. Patrick's Church in Phoenix City, and down here, and he's just a historian, and man, I appreciate you, appreciate the work y'all are doing, and just tell us where we at. I mean, what we're doing, because I'm kind of ignorant of what's, my first time down here, and I tell you, when you step on these grounds, you just can feel the presence of God. I mean, you really can, and we've already toured the facility over here, the retreat. Now we're with Father Dave, and Father Dave's going to give us some of the history of this place. And Father Dave, we're just going to turn it over to you and welcome and fill us in, brother.
Okay. Well, we're standing in front of a old house, a house that was built probably around the 1900s, maybe even before that. But the reason we're standing here is because when the sisters who were at St. Patrick's School in Phoenix City, when they bought the Mott Burr plantation out here, they came out and this house was here.
Now, when was that? What?
That was in 1917.
1917.
This house was here, and actually it was the home of a family. I believe the name was Miles family, who were they worked on the property, and there was other houses here. But the reason we're standing here is because this house became the chapel for the sisters. They were out here and they wanted a place to pray, a place to have Mass, and so forth. And I think a little later we're going to go inside.
Right.
But
Okay.
we this became the place, and in a very real way, this was the we like to say the birthplace of the missionary servants of the most blessed and most holy Trinity, because before that, neither the sisters nor the men's group were an organized, recognized religious group, in the Catholic Church. They were regular people.
Right.
But teaching at St. Patrick's, doing other things, but they came out here, and it was really here that they got started. And this, we call it, Father Judge's Chapel. Father Judge being the founder of the community. And it was here probably for, 5-6 years anyway, that they gathered together and worshiped. They had regular Mass, Sunday Mass, daily prayer. They would come from the other houses that were around here where they lived and gather here for prayer. And I don't know if you'll be able to see a little shot later on, but there's a small building, an outbuilding here that actually was where Father Judge would stay when he would come in from Phoenix City. Uh-huh. He would stay there. So this is kind of the birthplace of our community.
Man, that is such rich history. And I know that you told me that the sister's house was stretched from right out here. Of course, we'll get a picture of that in a moment, but all the way over there. And what happened to that? I mean,
well, I think it was around, they grew pretty quickly. I think it was around 1924 that using lumber, from the plantation that was here, using the lumber, they built what they called their mother house, and that's where they lived. It was a large building. We'll have to see if we can provide you with a picture of that.
Yeah.
But a rather large building. And when I say large, I mean it's quite a big building. And for about 6 years, I don't have the exact date in my mind, for about 6 years, they lived here, and this is where they trained the early sisters, and people would come. They would send people out to various places, in Alabama to work and all those type of things. But this was their, what they call mother house. But then right around the end of December of, I think it was 1930, it caught fire.
Yeah.
It caught fire and completely burned to the ground. Completely burned to the ground. As a matter of fact, there's a number of stories about how they were not only throwing water on this building, but even milk and stuff on this building for liquid in order to make sure that they were able to save this particular building. And that certainly was a very devastating time. And we do have pictures of Father Judge, and Mother Boniface, standing around the ashes. So it's really kind of a powerful place.
Oh yeah.
Because you almost want to say, okay, we were going to do all this, and now what?
Right.
So.
But you're coming up on the 100-year anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when exactly is that in?
Well, let me just say about the 100th anniversary. The sisters, missionary servants of the Most Blessed Trinity, had a celebration in 2018, because what happened is that you have to have an official date for when you were founded,
Right,
and the official date came from some official papers, from the bishop that says you can gather together and form this community. For the men's group, the missionary servants of the Most Holy Trinity, our 100th anniversary is in 2021, in August of 2021. That's when we received the letter from the bishop that said you can form. Now, were they together before that? Were they doing things together? But this is the formal beginning of that of the beginning of the community, and that's what we're recognizing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what was, the community? What was around here in those days? Do you have any idea? I know this was farming country, and Well, at one time, wasn't there a post office?
Yes, and that's part of the real history of the place, is that there was a post office here, but all of that came from the fact that there was right here this particular property, which was the Montburg plantation, which the sisters got. A few years later, in September 1920, the men's group, even though they hadn't been formally formed, bought the old Bradley home place.
The W.C. Bradley.
W.C. Bradley home
Yeah.
place across the street. And around here was the neighbors down the road are the Pattersons. Their property adjoins, going back to Phoenix
Right.
City.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, which is across the road, I don't know, I would say the Davis plantation, the Fairfield plantation, was across the road. And all of these are the places that, are right here. Matter of fact, the Fairfield house is still there, the Davis house, we call it the Davis house, and that's more than 100 years old.
Right.
Yeah, that's still there. And so what I simply wanted to say is, that's how we, got started here. And eventually, because of the type of work they were doing, because of wanting to communicate to other places in the country, they got permission from the post office department and had a post office over, on the other property, not
Right.
over here.
Yeah,
but
I knew
right
they
there,
had one there.
what's now right on 165.
Right.
There was a post office. Yeah.
Well, during the Depression years, what happened? I mean, in other words, did this property and the sisters and priests and all, what importance or what position or how did they serve people? I know that surely going through the Great Depression that the sisters and the priests had a good deal of service to offer.
Yeah, I would just quickly say that there was one of the first things that they did in serving here, they offered school. They had school. Matter of fact, I think they met at one of the houses, but then they set up a place for a school during the Depression. But the sisters grew pretty quickly. They sent sisters down to Mobile, Pensacola. They started in 1928, I think it was, Sacred Heart Hospital in Gadsden.
Right, and I've been there.
And Alabama. And so their thing grew, and they were communicating up and down the country with people from the Northeast that knew Father Judge because he had worked up there for so long. And they were, talking about and sending out, Holy Ghost messengers and, many different types of things, which is really the reason for the post office. They were sending out a lot of mail.
Right.
And so they had the post office right here. And the thing was, this place is named really by Father Judge, Holy Trinity Station, and then it became Holy Trinity. And actually, now it's actually still on the map because it had the post office.
Yeah. So it was pretty well self-contained. I mean, you had wells here, obviously. And you had to have in those days.
Sure, you had all of those type of things. They were farming here, then they were farming over on the other the St. Joseph side, because that's the only way you could make ends meet. They were farming, and I think they might have still had cotton, where they would sell some of that type of thing. I know they tell stories about peanuts over in the other place, but at the same time, not here, but over at St. Joseph, they had the place for the men and young men, a school, and actually a seminary, the beginnings of a seminary. So, I know people personally that had came down here in the late 1920s. They were hit during the Depression, that were educated, right there at St. Joseph.
Yeah.
And then went on to become, priests in our community, brothers in our community, and that's what they did, and educated right there. That was right, and that was right through the Depression.
Yeah.
Right through the Depression.
Well, let's go into chapel.
Okay.
Let's go into chapel if possible and
Okay.
show our viewers what a lovely facility you have here and such rich history.
Okay.
Well, we're inside the chapel, the original chapel here at Holy Trinity Retreat with Father Dave again. And Father Dave, just explain, if you will, please, as you did outside, what this was. And I
Yes.
know you was talking yourself about having a retreat here not long ago and so forth. And just explain to the
Yeah,
viewers what
this
this is.
was a house, you know, and when they needed a place when they got here to pray every morning, because they gathered together for prayers and to have daily mass, and they took this house and you know, began to use it, you know, as a chapel, a place to pray. And basically it's remained that all the way through all these years, and so that even now when I come on retreat and lots of other people come on retreat, we come in here and we'll sit down and pray, you know, because you know, we feel that there's a presence of God here, and actually we end up uniting ourselves with all the other people that have prayed here all over the years, you know. So it is a you know, a powerful place, you know, of peace and the presence of God, you know, to come to and to you know, spend some time, you know, in prayer.
Absolutely, you can, Father Dave, just really truly feel the presence of Almighty God in here. And even that, being in a structure over 100 years old, well over 100 years old, you can just see the timber and so forth when this was just a home when it was originally built. And it's just so beautiful, you know, and it's just so great. And like I said, it's powerful.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I mean, they have it in the back here, they have a fireplace. I would imagine it was a little chilly on some of these Alabama winter mornings to come into here, you know, and because it's not a stove or anything like that. All it is a fireplace. You know, that how much heat that put out, who knows? Not much, probably.
And you know, this style of this house is unique because, you know, most of those houses in that days was dog trot houses, you know, and so forth, with a breezeway through there, in this area. And this is just such a beautiful structure. And thank God that people that came before you and me preserved it the way they did.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
And now we're living testimony of how humans is just enjoying this. You know, this is, to me, I think it's one of the greatest things you can get this side of heaven. I mean, you know, I don't know, something, I just think it's great. The property, what y'all are doing, the mission y'all are on, and I just praise God for y'all. I can tell you, I really do.
Well, good, and I thank you, because, you know, I think the you know, one of the calling cards, you know, you get these little phrases that you use of you know, our founder, and one of them, and I just recently saw, you know, a copy of the original. He wrote a letter to a young person who was thinking of coming to Holy Trinity, a young man, and who actually eventually did come and stay. But in it, what he wrote was, you know, wish to do good, wish to be good, wish to do good, wish to be a power for good. And that's basically what we try to inspire people to do. So that they can,
and y'all have certainly fulfilled that mission for nearly 100 years, or a little over 100 years, I should say.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, and
You're welcome.
I'd like for us, if it would be possible, to tour this where Father Judd first stayed there, if you like.
We can show you the place where he, well, every time that he came here, that was his place.
Oh, okay.
In other words, you know, there were other houses and the big mother house, but he stayed in this little shed.
Yeah.
And it is a shed. Okay.
Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back to yesterday's memories. And we're so fortunate to be here at Holy Trinity Shrine today off of 165. And who we're going to talk to now is Miss Elizabeth Donner. Am I saying that right, Elizabeth?
You are,
Okay,
yes.
good. And she is, what is your title now?
I'm the lay executive director.
Okay, lay executive director of this facility. And Elizabeth, what is your job? I mean by that, I mean, you know, your job description. What are you responsible for? I know you're responsible for this facility.
Yeah, for all the facilities and the 1,200 acres of grounds that we have here, as well as promoting and advertising the retreat center, upcoming events, helping to raise funds, really getting the message out there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know it takes money to do anything. I mean,
Yes.
somebody's got to pay the lights and the water and everything else. And you mentioned raising funds. Well, what is some of your fundraising
Yes.
things that y'all do down here?
Yeah, so we have an ongoing wish list where we give people lists of items that are kind of the most needed items at the time. So if you're interested in joining our email distribution list, I'd be happy to add you. We also have the first annual Family Fun Festival coming up. It's going to be a fundraising event to hopefully bring people from all over the area just for a day of fun and relaxation. Going to have a fun run, arts and crafts, games, silent auction, an art contest, live music. So tons of activities for families to come out and enjoy the day. It'll be September 14th. And then we also have monthly donors, and we're working on sponsorship opportunities. So we're always looking for people to help sponsor our marketing efforts,
Right.
As well as our gardens and our trail maintenance. So there are a whole variety of opportunities for folks to get involved.
Great. Well, I hope we'll be able to put that on the viewing screen today, and how people can get in touch with you and so forth. Now, how do you advertise? I mean, I know you got to get the word out to people. Do you do
Yes.
social media? What's some of the ways that we can find out about this?
We sure do. So we have a Facebook page,
Okay.
msbt.btsr. I'm sure we'll put this on the screen as well. We have Instagram, Twitter. We're going to be starting a YouTube channel soon. We have a website, email distribution list. We mail out flyers to folks. People are available to go to meetings to talk about the retreat center. So you name it, and we're in newspapers. You name it, and we try and get the word out.
Well, that's wonderful, because, was any of that being done? I know you said you've been here, about a year?
Yes.
Has that been done? Is this an ongoing program? Is this something you started, or?
The social media push is something that's new. So they had a Facebook page before, but we're increasing the presence in social media in multiple media outlets. We're increasing our presence in person, speaking with people in person, meeting folks. We're a member of the East Alabama Chamber of Commerce now.
Right.
We are doing more mailings. We're trying to increase readership, increase the number of people who are aware of us and who are tapped into what we're doing month to month.
Right. Well, that's great. And, now I know, like for instance, everything I saw today is new. I knew that this facility was here, but I didn't know what was here. All I had saw prior to the day was a sign on 165. And that's why I was so interested in coming down here and seeing. And I'm just overwhelmed with what I'm seeing. Could anybody come, or should they make an appointment with you to come down, and would you be available to show them, or is that in your job description?
Absolutely, yes. So folks could give me a call, send me an email. We could schedule a tour. I could show them around the facilities and the grounds. So it would be wonderful for folks to contact me.
And to our viewers out there, what y'all are seeing today, we hadn't even touched what they have here, believe you me. We hadn't been on the trails and other things that they have at this facility. And if we did, this show would last all day. So time not allowing, we can't do that. But come down for yourself. Call Elizabeth. As I say, her number and her name will be on the screen.
Wonderful.
And call Elizabeth, and she'll set up an appointment. Because if you don't, you're truly missing a gem. It's part of our local history here in Russell County. And I'm just telling you, you're going to miss a real treat. And I really plan on coming back.
Wonderful.
Because, you can get back to nature here, and just sit around and things like that. And you can get a room, and you can get closer to God. And, I was telling Father Dave a while ago, in life, people go through tragedies. That's part of life. And, in the loss of a loved one, or death to a child, or an accident or something, I would think myself that I would just really want to come. For no other reason. Now, when you come down here, don't expect to have big screen color TVs. That's what this facility is not about that.
Right.
It's about just getting back to nature, getting back to Almighty God first and foremost,
Yes.
and just relaxing, you know. Well, Elizabeth, we want to thank you today for allowing us to come down, and I'm telling you, I'm walking away amazed. And I can assure our viewers that they really need to come, and I will be back. I can
Wonderful.
promise you. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.